Shalom, my family, and welcome back to another video from Yeshua Ministries. I am in some random car park in an area I don't know, on a street that I have no clue of, and I am coming with you today with a video on Sukkot. And what I want to do with this video is I want to go through some ideas of Sukkot, and then I also want to go through the ceremony of waters and Yeshua in this festival. Now, Sukkot, for those that don't know about it, is one of the Moedim, or the appointed times of Yah. It is a 7-day festival with an 8th day added, where you are meant to dwell in tents. And it's one of the most joyous festivals, especially if you go to Israel at the time, for their celebrations, because everyone there, basically, even some secular families, will participate in this feast. They will put these little shacks, tents, so to speak, on their balconies, and they will sit and eat their meals in there. From the Messianic Hebrew root side of things, we try to keep it as well. We will generally get tents or various other forms of accommodation, swag, so on and so forth, generally tents, and we'll go out camping. And most people will try to camp for the full 7 days. You can just go the first and last day and so on and so forth to these camps and do the rest at home. I'd still advise that you use a tent. So in Leviticus 23 verse 33 to 35, Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel, on the 15th day of the 7th month is the feast of Sukkot for 7 days to Adonai. On the first day there is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any type of ordinary work." Now when you go from 23 verse 36 through to 38, it goes on about the vows and sacrifices and so on that would have been made. You can read through that, and it says about the 8th day being a holy convocation and a day of public assembly that you should not do any kind of ordinary work on. Now, if you jump through to Leviticus 23:39, "But on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered the produce of the land, you are to observe the festival of Adonai 7 days. The first day is to be a complete rest, and the 8th day is to be a complete rest." Now this continues on into verse 40. 39, 40. "On the first day you are to take choice fruit, palm fronds, thick branches, and river willows, and celebrate in the presence of Adonai your God for 7 days. Now this is where it speaks of the 4 kinds: choice fruit, palm fronds, thick branches, and river willows. Now, the choice fruit, we're uncertain as to whether that would have been a specific fruit or just any choice fruit that you had. In Israel, the Jews, they follow it in Judaism to be the etrog, which is a sort of citrus, quite pointy, has quite a nice aroma, and a nice taste, but most of it is like the flesh from the peel rather than actual flesh of the fruit, and it's full of seeds. You can maybe omit this one. I still often will go with a lot of the other side of things, where you get the palm fronds and the branches and the river willows, the willow branches, and you get them all in a nice little pack. And that's 3 of your 4 kinds, and then you just need your fruit. So Leviticus 23:41, "You are to observe it as a feast to Adonai 7 days in the year. It is a permanent regulation, generation after generation. Keep it in the 7th month." It is a regulation, we are to keep it. Leviticus 23 verse 42 to 43, "You are to live in Sukkot for 7 days. Every citizen of Israel is to live in a sukkah, so that you will know that I made the people of Israel live in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Adonai your God." Now, This shows it is 7 days you are meant to sleep in these tents, these sukkah, these temporary dwellings, which is to be a reminder of when they were brought out of Egypt, when Israel was brought out of Egypt. And this is a vital festival for us because it's bringing us together. We're dwelling together as they would have back in those times. And it's actually a beautiful thing, even with families, with lots of kids, if you can actually set aside this time for Yah and his kingdom to join with your brothers and sisters. Now, this festival actually plays a big role with the idea of Yeshua as well, because some say this is when Yeshua was born. Now, I'm not going to go into that too heavily because there's speculation and there's different arguments. But Yeshua came to dwell among us. Yah in human form, dwelling among us. John 1 verse 14, the Word became a human being and lived with us, and we saw his Shekinah, the Shekinah of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. And Yeshua, the Messiah, HaMashiach, actually attended Sukkot. John 7 verse 2, but the festival of Sukkot in Judah was near, and his brothers were trying to tell him to go there and show the signs, and he's saying it's not the right time and that he wouldn't attend. And then John 7 verse 10, 8 verses after, it says, but after his brothers had gone up to the festival, he too went up, not publicly but in secret. And so he actually does speak with some people there during this time, and it's quite important. But what I want to get into is the ceremony of waters. So it's the water libation ceremony, and ultimately the priests would go down to a certain pool, and it was this musical festival, beautiful thing where they would go down to the pool, and you'd have the choice singers and dancers and so on and so forth, and they'd take a picture of this water, and then they'd walk up all the way to the temple. And it became this beautiful ceremony on the 8th day of Sukkot, that final holy convocation. And they actually, on the altar, they would have an area for water, so I'm told. A groove for the water. So it's like the water and the blood. There's a lot in here. So John 7 verse 37 to 38 says, now on the last day of the festival, Hoshana Rabbah, Yeshua stood and cried out, if anyone is thirsty, let him keep coming to me and drinking. Whoever puts his trust in me, as the scripture says, rivers of living water will flow from his inmost being. Now, Hoshana Rabbah, that refers to the final day, the 8th day of the festival. So it's also called the Great Day, or the Great 8th Day. Hoshana means please save us. Rabbah means great. So Hoshana Rabbah actually means the great salvation. Now, when we look at water, water is connected to life. This is also connected to the altar. And this is a festival where there was joy, light, celebration, singing. There was these beautiful menorahs, shining light. They say that it shone and it lit up all the way to Bethlehem, and all these beautiful things. It was like this wonderful festival of light, of joy, of praise to the Father, of tabernacling, of enjoying the presence of others. And when we think about water and life, and water at the altar, and the water and the blood at the altar, and the priests like taking the water up there for these special ceremonies, which were a part of their traditions that had come apart. And this was linked to do with a Bible verse as well. And they believe that they're fulfilling a prophecy when they do this. That's why they do it. They believe they're fulfilling some sort of valuable thing that they're meant to do. And I have lost my phone, so I can't actually find the verse, but it's in the Bible. So they do this thinking, because it's about drawing from the springs, and so they do this thinking that they are fulfilling a mitzvah. But when you think about Yeshua and the woman at the well and what he says there, you sort of see the links and parallels in that with this John 7 verse 37 to 38, where he's saying, if anyone is thirsty, let him keep coming to me and drinking. And he says this, it's believed, when they were doing this water libation ceremony, saying that he is water. That if you partake of him and come to him and seek that ruach and that spirit and that truth, that rivers of living water will flow from you. It's exactly what he was saying to the woman at the well. And so we need to really seek that. And when we observe Sukkot, we need to remember all this. Let's enjoy it. Let's take those four kinds, or as close as we can, and worship and celebrate. We are meant to celebrate. Leviticus 23:40. On the first day you are to take choice fruit, palm fronds, thick branches, and river willows, and celebrate in the presence of Adonai your God for 7 days. We are to celebrate in the presence of Adonai for these 7 days. That is what this is about. So if you haven't done Sukkot yet, I invite you to consider it. It is coming up. It will be in October, and there's so many of us that just congregate, join, and do these festivals. Some people just do it in backyards, in a tent, or even in a tent inside. But the thing is, so long as we are unifying and seeking to follow Yeshua and have that love of him within us towards our brethren and follow these feasts, so long as we are seeking to do it in truth and wisdom and as remembrance and guided and in love, it will do us well. So I hope you like this teaching. I'm sorry it was quite swift. It's still taken 12 minutes, but I think this covers most of the verses that you require. It covers some of those extra bits about Yeshua and seeing Yeshua in the feast, which of course I haven't gone heavily into it, but the water, the blood, water meaning life, the altar, Yeshua, the woman at the well, the joy, the light, the celebration, how we're meant to be light unto the earth and walk in the light, the singing, the praise, the praising of Yah, all these things, they all culminate into a beautiful spiritual adventure that Sukkot is. So I hope that you have enjoyed this, and I hope that if you haven't considered this feast yet, that you would. Yeshua, the Son of God, even himself, was a part of this. He went up and celebrated and praised Yah. And these are the designated times of Yah, his holy convocations. They are not the feasts of the Jews or Israel or certain people. Through Yeshua we are grafted in. We are part of Israel, and we are subject to these things. But even if you don't think we are subject to them, these are laws, these are commandments, and those laws and commandments were for blessings, and so we seek to fulfill those and do them in love of Yah, in love of Yeshua, in love of God and Jesus, and to do these as best as we can. And this is where we find our strength. Walking the walk as best as we can. And there are so many blessings in doing this. There are so many blessings in reading your Bible every day, so I hope you will consider. Shalom. And until next time, brothers and sisters, I thank you for joining me in this ministry. Please comment below if this helped you in any way. Please share it to anyone you think needs to know about this beautiful, beautiful feast and beautiful, beautiful message with Yeshua and everything else. See you next time.